My name is Alina Harper, and I'm 80 years old. I'm not shy about my age. 80 feels like a milestone, a number that carries the weight of wisdom, quiet afternoons with books, and windows flung wide to let the breeze in. I live in a cozy apartment in Savannah's historic district, where the air smells of magnolia blossoms and fresh brewed coffee. I've been a widow for over 10 years, and I'd long since stopped expecting surprises, or so I thought. It all started on an ordinary Tuesday. The summer heat was heavy, but a playful breeze rustled the leaves in Forsyth Park. I went out with my wide-brimmed hat and woven tote, settling on a bench to read. In a moment of distraction, I left my tote behind. I didn't realize until I got home, muttered a quiet curse, and was about to head back when the doorbell rang. There he was, a young man, not a boy, but young to me, maybe 35, tall, with a few days' stubble, warm brown eyes, and a smile that was equal parts shy and intrigued. "Alina Harper?" he asked softly. "I found this in the park. Your address was on a letter inside." It was my tote. I was so stunned I could barely speak. "Thank you, I don't know what to say," I stammered. "Can I treat you to coffee as an apology for looking inside?" he said with a disarming grin. Something, maybe his gentle voice or his non-judgmental air, made me say yes. We went to a cafe on Broughton Street called the Crimson Bean, a place I'd never noticed before, cozy with bookshelves and hanging ferns. We sat by a window, and I ordered chamomile tea. He chose peppermint. "I'm Caleb," he said, stirring his cup. "I'm a physical therapist, but in my spare time I write poetry." Poetry? I was intrigued. "What kind?" "The kind that doesn't sell," he laughed. "But sometimes I read it aloud to my elderly patients. They say it heals better than any massage." We laughed and talked about books, the quiet of the city at dusk, the music we grew up with. I mentioned Patsy Cline. He said his grandmother used to play her records when he was a kid. A soft ache bloomed in my chest, like a window opening in my memory. When we parted, he walked me to my building. "Thanks for the company," I said. "Thanks for the conversation," he replied, kissing my hand with such care that time seemed to pause. That night, I couldn't sleep. I wandered my apartment barefoot, as I did in my youth, brewed a cup of tea, and started writing. Not about him, not yet, but something inside me had sparked. The next day, I found a note in my mailbox. "If you'd like another cup of tea, I'd be delighted." "Caleb." I tucked it inside a book of Emily Dickinson's poems. Days passed, and I didn't call. I'm no teenager. Yet every time I passed the Crimson Bean, I glanced at its tables, hoping to spot him. One afternoon, there he was, scribbling in a blue notebook, earbuds dangling. He saw me, stood, and waved me over. I nodded, wordless, for another tea. That day was different. We didn't just talk, we strolled along the Savannah River, where live oaks dripped with Spanish moss. He took my arm with an ease that made my heart flutter, not with fear, but with something like joy. "You know," he said as we watched the sunset, "you remind me of my grandmother, not your age, but the way you speak, listen, make everything feel calmer. That's rare, and it's the best thing that's happened to me in a long time." I smiled, something dancing inside me. At home, I looked in the mirror. I didn't look younger, but my eyes held a new light, a whisper of possibility. I never expected at 80 to wait for a message with my heart racing. Days passed without a note from Caleb, not because he didn't care, but because I'd grown used to the silence of years, and he seemed to respect my pace. Still, walking through Savannah, I searched for his stride, his voice, his blue notebook. Then came my birthday. I'm not one for big celebrations, and this year was no different. I'd baked a small lemon cake and planned a quiet afternoon reading. But at mid-morning, the doorbell rang. There was Caleb, holding a flower wrapped in newspaper and a smile that erased every ache. "Happy birthday, Alina," he said, offering the flower. "I wasn't sure if you liked daisies, but this one felt special." "How did you know it was today?" "A bit of curiosity and the internet," he chuckled. "May I come in?" I nodded, nervous but happy. I served him a slice of cake. He sat on my couch, looking at the framed photos, old books, and a porcelain figurine. "This place has soul," he said, touching the figurine, "like you." I blushed at my age. "Can I read you something?" he asked, pulling out his notebook. "Of course." He cleared his throat and began, "Some women don't age. Time honors them. They walk with gentle steps and eyes that awaken. My heart leapt. Each word felt like a caress, written for me, or so it seemed. She, with a quiet soul, carries past storms, yet her smile gives the world hope. When he finished, I was speechless, tears welling not from sadness but beauty. "Don't tell me I'm beautiful," I whispered. "I haven't been for years." "Then stop looking through borrowed eyes," he replied. A long, comfortable silence followed. Then, as if it were the most natural thing, he leaned close, his forehead touching mine. "Is it okay if I stay a bit longer?" "Stay as long as you like." We spent the afternoon talking, laughing. He told me about his childhood, caring for his grandmother until her final days, how it taught him love knows no age, no body, no clock. At night, he offered to walk with me. We wandered the neighborhood, streetlights glowing, the scent of jasmine in the air. He held my arm, not out of pity, but reverence, like I was something sacred. We sat on a bench by the river, and he looked at me with an intensity that crumbled walls. "Eleanor, I don't know when it happened, but you mean more to me than I expected. And I'm not ashamed to say it." My body trembled not from fear, but from being seen, desired, valued at 80. I leaned in, kissed his cheek, but he turned slightly, and our lips brushed, brief, soft, innocent, but enough to stop the world. "I'm sorry," I said. "Don't apologize," he replied. "It's the best birthday gift." We walked back hand in hand, like teenagers, like everything was just beginning. But as we climbed the stairs to my apartment, a sharp pain shot through my knees and ankles. I could barely walk. "Are you okay?" Caleb asked, worried. "Just age," I tried to joke. "No, that's not normal. Let me help." "You're already giving me more than anyone has in years," I said. "Let me care for you," he insisted. That night in my living room, he sat on the floor, a towel across his lap, and massaged my legs with a mint-scented balm, his hands gentle, patient, loving. The pain eased, not entirely, but enough to feel a warmth, a lightness, like his touch was medicine. "I think I'm healing," I murmured. "I knew you would," he smiled. "Love heals too, Eleanor." We gazed at each other, and for the first time in decades, I felt young not in body, but in soul. Since that night, my body seemed to remember what it felt like to be loved. The pain lessened, my heart grew lighter. I laughed to myself, tended my plants with care, even swapped my heavy drapes for airy ones, as if light had permission to flood in. Caleb visited often, sometimes to read poetry, sometimes to watch the sunset from my balcony. He never demanded, he simply gave everything. One day, buying bread, I overheard neighbors whispering. "Have you seen her with that young man?" one said, scandalized. "So handsome, what's he want with her? At that age, it's not love, it's something else." I pretended not to hear, but the words stung. That afternoon, I didn't tell Caleb, but something in me withdrew. Old doubts crept in, whispering, "You don't deserve this." He noticed. "You've stopped looking at me the way you did," he said, brewing tea. "I'm just trying to see clearly," I replied, avoiding his eyes. "Eleanor, what's wrong?" I sighed, then confessed. "People say you're too young for me, that this is foolish. Part of me believes them." He knelt, took my hands. "Want to know what I see?" he whispered. "A woman who saved me, who gave me purpose, who taught me to love without fear." His eyes shone. "I have no money, no hidden motives, just time, and I want to spend it with you." I cried, for anger, for tenderness, for feeling so alive. I hugged him tightly. That day I understood love doesn't ask permission, it simply happens. But life tests happiness. One morning, a sharp chest pain stole my breath. I collapsed in the bathroom. Caleb, sleeping on the couch, heard and rushed to me. "Eleanor, breathe!" They took me to the hospital, angina, they said. I was kept under observation, surrounded by tubes and monitors, the silence broken only by the beat of my heart. Caleb stayed in the waiting room. When I woke, I saw him asleep in a plastic chair, a wilted flower in his hand. "What are you doing here?" I whispered. "Waiting for you. I'll always wait." I tried to smile, but fear gripped me, fear of losing what I'd fought so hard to find. "I'm scared, Caleb." "So am I, but I'd rather be scared with you than live without you." The weeks that followed were filled with rest and care. Caleb cooked, read novels aloud, even taught me to video call my niece in Atlanta. But my body faltered at times, stirring doubts. One night, as he stroked my hair, I said, "Maybe you should find someone younger, someone who doesn't need pills or a cane." He paused, then pulled out a small notebook. "I was saving this, but now's the time." I opened it, pages of poems, all for me. Every word is a heartbeat, he said. I can't write without you. My heart clenched. I hugged him with strength I didn't know I had. Don't leave me, I pleaded, even if I tremble, even if it hurts. I never planned to, he whispered. That same night, a loud crash woke us. Someone had thrown a rock through my living room window. I froze. Caleb ran to the balcony but saw no one. On the floor was a note in black marker. This isn't love, it's a disgrace. My legs shook with fear, anger, pain. I don't want you hurt because of me, I told him. They're not hurting me, they're hurting us, but I won't let them break us. The next morning, I made a choice. I put on my favorite peach dress, styled my hair like I used to, took Caleb's hand, and walked to the heart of the square. In front of everyone, I stopped, looked at him, and kissed him, long, fearless, owing no apologies. When I opened my eyes, I saw one of the gossiping neighbors staring, shocked. I walked up to her. Got something to say? I asked calmly. She looked away. No, nothing. We kept walking. Weeks have passed. The chest pain returns sometimes. I know time doesn't stop. But neither do we. Today, Caleb took me to Tybee Island. Sitting on the sand, he said, Eleanor, if you go before me, can I promise you something? What? I'll keep writing about you, so the world knows love has no age, and a woman of 80 can change a man of 35. I smiled. Then promise me one thing, too. Anything. Read me what you write tonight, tomorrow. We embraced as the sun sank. But as we returned home, an ambulance blocked our street. Someone was crying. We ran, and there, on the ground, was a letter with my name and his notebook, open to the last page.